Chart shows the number of total passenger miles by mode of transport in Britain between 1995 and 2015. Over this period, the passenger miles in a car rose steadily from 300 billion in 1995 to 360 billion in 2015. Public transport wasn't so consistent. The passenger miles traveled using this mode fell to a low of 30 billion in 2005, but then this rose to about 60 billion in 2015.
This graph shows that globally, messaging apps were significantly more popular than social networks by 2017, with roughly 3,750 monthly users, as opposed to around 3,250 monthly users on social networks. In fact, the number of monthly users for messaging apps started to exceed the number of social network users in 2014. From then on, the number of users for social networks increased steadily, whereas the number of users for messaging apps rose more rapidly.
This chart shows that between 1996 and 2018, global spending on luxury items grew significantly, from about 80 billion to about 260 billion euros. At first, there was a steady increase up until the year 2000, when spending remained the same for a few years. Then, in 2004, spending began to climb rapidly again before a noticeable fall in 2009. From 2010 onwards, global spending seemed to recover. After 2016, the spending remained at almost the same level.
The bar chart shows the market shares and percentages for 7 supermarket companies in 2018 and 2019. The company with the largest market share in 2018 was Fernsby Supermarkets, with 23%. In the second and third places for the same year were Woodbeat & Sons and Polyfino Hypermarkets. These 3 supermarkets were in the top 3 in 2018, but Jarsdale Megastores moved to third place with 17% of the market share in 2019. The remaining supermarkets all increased their market shares.
The graph shows the top 3 sources of electricity in the UK during the years 2009 to 2019. The most used source is natural gas, which began as the most used with 45% and finished in 2019 with just under 40%. All 3 sources showed a decline in use, but the use of coal fell dramatically. Starting at just under 30%, by 2019, the figures dropped to under 5%. Figures for nuclear power decreased from 20 to around 18%.
The bar charts show percentages for youth activities at weekends in urban and rural areas. The most popular activity in both places is using social media, accounting for just over half of the time. In contrast, sport and physical activities were the least popular weekend activities in cities and the countryside at 3% and 10% respectively. Interestingly, young people in towns visited their friends far more than in rural areas.
The bar chart shows the number of small and large farms in 3 countries. Small farms are 50,000 square metres or less, and large farms are 500,000 square metres or more. Country C has the largest number of small farms and the lowest number of large farms. Country B has the same number of small farms as large farms, while Country A has the fewest farms with only 300 in total.
This graph shows that the number of hospital beds per 1,000 people worldwide gradually decreased, while the number of doctors per 1,000 people worldwide slowly increased between 1990 and 2010. The number of hospital beds started at about 3.3 per 1,000 and then went up to 3.4 before falling to a little more than 2.5 in 2010. On the other hand, the number of doctors started at the lower level of about 1.2 and then went up to about 1.3 in the year 2000 before increasing a little more in 2010.
The bar chart shows how many people can travel in cities in one peak hour using different types of transport. The most efficient is the railway. Trains carry 21,000 people. By contrast, private vehicles are the most inefficient, moving only 1,800 people in the same time. We can see that 13,000 cyclists and 17,000 pedestrians move through the same urban space as 8,000 people travelling in buses.
The graph shows the proportion of Australians working and/or studying for the year 2019. There was a higher percentage of males working or studying compared to females for all age groups except for teenagers. After the age of 20, males surpassed females in terms of the percentage of those engaged in work or study. Between the ages of 30 and 39, their rate of employment increased at around 90%. The percentage of females working continued to steadily decline, falling to just over 40% in the oldest age group, the over 50s.